Mira moved like a ghost through the burning corridors of the abandoned orbital training station. Her breath was steady, eyes razor-focused, boots silent against the scorched floor plating. A synthetic target popped from behind a bulkhead, and before it could finish its movement, a low thump from her plasma rifle dropped it in a flicker of scorched metal. Another target, this one humanoid, holding a serrated blade, charged from the side. She ducked low, swept its legs out, and shot it clean through the visor before it hit the floor. 5 seconds faster than your last run, the AI voice chimed through her earpiece. Lethality rating remains optimal. Mira didn't reply. She just pulled her scarf tighter over her scarred throat and stepped into the decontamination chamber. The door hissed shut behind her, washing her in sterile mist. In the reflection of the metal wall, she barely recognized the woman staring back. Short, raven-black hair chopped with utility over vanity, a faded mark burned just beneath her right collarbone, the Kthari symbol for prime prey. Commander Rice was already waiting in the observation deck when she emerged. The man wore his uniform like armor, pressed too tight, decorated too clean, chin always lifted like he was above gravity. He didn't smile. "You're still training like there's a war going on," he said, gesturing to the holographic score trailing behind her. "There is," Mira replied, brushing past him to retrieve her data slate. "We just haven't found their last nest yet." Rice exhaled sharply, as if to debate her, but thought better of it. He motioned toward the display console. Dozens of dots marked the outer edges of known space, each blinking red. A few were already crossed out, cleared, sterilized, lifeless. "They're running out of places to hide," he said. "Soon, there won't be a single Kthari left in the galaxy." Mira tilted her head. "Good." The silence between them swelled with tension. Rice finally added, "High Command wants you on the front expedition to the Skara Fringe. You'll be leading the drop team." She nodded without hesitation. Orders were comfort. Missions were clarity. But clarities never lasted. Later that night, under the sterile glow of the barracks, Mira sat in the counseling chamber opposite Dr. Yana Vorn. The older woman's presence was soft but precise, like a scalpel. Her eyes carried too much sympathy, but at least she didn't flinch at the scars. "You've refused to submit a personal log for 7 weeks, Dr. Vorn said gently. "You know that's not optional for field leaders." "I remember enough without writing it down," Mira said, her voice dry as ash. "I'm not asking for a war journal," Vorn said. "Just your truth." "Why do you still fight, Mira?" For a long moment, silence hung between them, charged and brittle. Then Mira closed her eyes. Her fingers curled unconsciously around the old shard of bone she wore as a pendant. "A Kthari talon. They hunted us," she said finally. "For entertainment. For trophies. For the thrill of watching us run." Her voice was flat, but something dark flickered behind her eyes. "They watched from thrones and domes, called it sport. They recorded our screams, measured our fear like performance metrics. I was 16. They branded me a prime. That meant I wasn't supposed to die too fast." Dr. Vorn didn't speak. She didn't have to. "I made it out," Mira whispered. "No one else did. They made me pray. Now I return the favor." When she left the chamber, the ship's AI pinged her to report to command again. Something urgent. In the war room, Rice was standing before a hologram of a twisted jungle moon in the Skara Fringe. The image shifted to show a Kthari hunting dome, intact. Not abandoned. Active. "This is live?" Mira asked. Rice nodded grimly. "We intercepted a beacon. They're still operating a hunt camp. They think we're too far behind to find them here." Her jaw tensed. "Then let's teach them how wrong they are. You'll go in first. Minimal team. Stealth infiltration. Objective: extract a living Kthari warlord if possible. We need intelligence. The Extinction algorithm needs better targeting data." Mira didn't blink. "I want the kill order if we fail to extract." Rice hesitated, then gave the faintest nod. She turned and left, already assembling her team in her mind. Those who didn't flinch, who had seen what the Kthari did, who didn't dream of peace because peace had been incinerated on altars of bone and laughter. Back in her quarters, Mira cleaned her rifle in silence. Each movement was practice sacred. She paused only once, when she reached into her pack and pulled out a cracked data chip, the last thing salvaged from the escape pod that had saved her life years ago. It still carried the blurry image of her younger self, smiling beside a boy and a woman with her eyes. Gone now. Tomorrow, she would walk back into the jungle. But this time, the prey came armed. The drop ship's hull shuddered as it entered the atmosphere of the Kthari jungle moon. Turbulence shook loose a panel from overhead, but Mira didn't flinch. Her squad, for operatives, each chosen for precision, silence, and the scars they carried, sat strapped in, faces grim behind tinted visors. Outside the narrow viewport, the sky rippled with violet lightning and thick, acid-hued clouds. 5 clicks to LZ. The pilot's voice crackled. Touchdown in 60. Mira checked her rifle, then tapped the chip embedded in her wrist. A holographic schematic flickered into life. An ancient Kthari hunting dome deep in the jungle, one of the last known to be operational. Earth Command had traced its signal after decades of silence. If the AI calculations were correct, it still housed high-ranking Kthari commanders. The last ones. We move silent. Extract one alive, Mira said to her team without looking up. No mistakes. No heat signatures. If it turns, burn the whole nest. They nodded once, like ghosts trained to disappear. Mira touched her pendant, the Kthari talon worn down with age, then turned toward the hatch as the ship began its final descent. The jungle greeted them with silence that screamed. Towering, bioluminescent vines arched overhead like skeletal ribs. Mist clung to every surface, thick and cloying, hiding movement and memory alike. Myra's HUD flickered briefly. Local interference, but she pressed forward. They reached the dome perimeter within 20 minutes. The structure was massive, overgrown, but unmistakably alien. Organic and synthetic elements twisted together, pulsing faintly with internal light. Mira signaled her team to hold. A motion sensor on her gauntlet flared. 3 Kthari moved within, slow, deliberate, hunting. One was larger than the rest. Myra's jaw clenched. We breach in 10, she whispered. Rourke on overwatch. Jalen with me. Solon and Kai take rear flank. Jalen checked his charge pack, then nodded. Think they remember what it's like to be hunted? Mira didn't smile. They will. They breached silently, a concussive EMP collapsing the outer membrane without alarm. Inside, the dome was colder, darker. The air stank of blood and chemicals. Rows of display cases lined the walls. Bones, shreds of human clothing, preserved organs, tagged and labeled in Kthari glyphs. Trophies. Mira didn't pause. The larger signal moved through a corridor up ahead, unaware. They followed the trail, weaving through chambers filled with instruments designed for observation, not interrogation. The Kthari weren't curious about survival. They were interested in how long it took for hope to die. She caught sight of the warlord in the next chamber, taller than the others, armored in obsidian plating with ceremonial blades at his side. His eyes, a glassy white, flicked toward her a second too late. Engage. The ambush was surgical. A stun blast hit the creature's spine while Jalen lassoed its limbs with a magnetic tether. The warlord shrieked, a sound like metal folding underwater, but was down within 10 seconds. 2 lesser Kthari moved to defend him. Rourke eliminated both with silent sniper bursts through the dome wall. Target secured. Mira confirmed into comms. Initiating extraction. As she turned to signal retreat, the warlord twisted violently, dislocating his own shoulder to slip free of one loop. He lunged. Mira met him halfway with the butt of her rifle, smashing into his jaw, then slammed her boot into his midsection. He fell hard but hissed something guttural in his tongue. Her translator struggled but caught one word. Mirror. Mira blinked. What? The warlord spat blood. You are what we were. Once. She stared at him. And now you're extinct. Back at the ship, Dr. Yana Vorn was already waiting in the holding bay, garbed in a sterile suit. Her expression turned grave as she saw the prisoner. Mira stepped aside, watching as Vorn activated the neural interface helmet and began extracting memory patterns directly from the creature's cerebral cortex. They mapped our emotional responses, Vorn murmured, eyes wide. They tuned their hunts based on how our pain changed over time. Myra's voice was low. Can you use it?
Yes.
With this, the extinction algorithm can be fully calibrated. We'll find every last one. No more hiding. Rice entered then, silent but charged. He surveyed the restrained warlord, then turned to Mira. Well done. Earth thanks you. Mira didn't respond. Rice continued. Do you want to trigger the protocol yourself? She hesitated. The warlord looked at her, not with fear, but recognition. It wasn't a predator facing death, it was something older, colder. A mirror, indeed. Do it, she said finally. Rice tapped a command into his console. Across the star map, dozens of reds began to flicker and vanish. Earth's AI, armed with the genetic and neural imprint of the Cathari warlord, had begun the sweep. One by one, the last of the hunters were being hunted. Back in her quarters, Mira sat on her bunk in silence. Outside, the stars shifted slowly, as if uncertain of the future. She replayed the warlord's words in her mind. You are what we were. She didn't know if it was a warning or a farewell. But she knew this much. Whatever the Cathari had started, Earth would end. Even if it meant becoming monsters to do it. The fleet hung above the Cathari homeworld like a constellation of judgment. Dozens of Earth's dreadnoughts, each bristling with kinetic launchers and orbital plasma arrays, circled the dying planet with cold intent. On the bridge of the command ship Resolute, Mira stood silent as the final targeting sequences compiled on the central holodisplay. The planet below shimmered in bruised blues and moss-colored greens, its surface a chaotic sprawl of jungle canopies and crystalline hive structures. It pulsed faintly, as if aware of what was coming. All cities locked, Rice confirmed from his station. His voice was calm, but something in his posture was fraying. The terraforming warhead is armed. Once it detonates, the biosphere will collapse in under 6 hours. Myra's eyes remained fixed on the planet. And the matriarch? We've located her deep within the Virex core, a sanctuary shielded from orbital scans, Vorn answered, stepping into view from the communications bay. Her face was pale, drawn thin with sleepless calculation. No known Cathari hierarchs remain besides her. Once she's gone, the species ends. A silence settled over the command deck like dust on a tombstone. I want boots on the ground, Mira said. Rice looked at her sharply. There's no need for that. We can finish this from orbit. I said I'm going down, she repeated, voice steel. She's not a target to vaporize from the clouds. I need to look her in the eye. Rice didn't argue. He just nodded and tapped his console. Minutes later, Mira descended through the atmosphere in a shuttle flanked by 2 escorts. As they pierced the sky, firestorms whipped past the hull, driven by the planet's defense turbulence. But no weapons fired. No interceptors. No resistance. The Cathari had stopped fighting. The Virex core was not what she expected. There were no war machines, no beasts, no death arenas. The sanctuary resembled a cathedral grown from coral and bone, humming with resonance. The air inside vibrated with memories. She walked alone, unarmed save for a wrist-mounted recorder and a neural sync band. At the far end of the hall, the Cathari matriarch waited. She was taller than any Mira had seen, draped in silken chitin and iridescent crests that shimmered with each movement. Her many eyes blinked slowly, ancient and unafraid. Unlike the others, her presence did not feel predatory. It felt mournful. You are the one who ran, the matriarch said, her voice translated through the sync band as a layered whisper. I am the one who came back, Mira replied. They studied each other. A stillness thickened between them, broken only by the soft thrumming of the core. You misunderstand us, the matriarch said. We did not hunt for cruelty. We hunted for preservation. Myra's jaw tensed. You slaughtered children. Families. You recorded their screams. Yes, the matriarch acknowledged, without apology. Because fear is memory. Pain echoes louder than joy. We kept what your kind discards, emotions etched into skin, muscle, bone. In extinction, we preserve. Mira stepped closer. You think that justifies genocide? The matriarch tilted her head. We did not destroy. We observed. Catalogued. You chose to destroy us. Mira felt her heartbeat slow. There was no triumph in this encounter, no catharsis. Only cold realization. She had come expecting a monster. Instead, she found something worse, reason. You made us prey, she said. And you made yourselves predators, the matriarch replied. You adapted too well. Mira raised the sync band. Any last words? The matriarch didn't blink. You will miss us when we're gone. Outside, high above the atmosphere, Rice received the signal. Mira had confirmed target acquisition. He hesitated, just briefly, then activated the final sequence. The Wrath of Gaia missile launched silently, its descent graceful, almost gentle. It struck the surface with the force of engineered extinction. Shockwaves rippled through the crust. Atmospheric pressure collapsed. Trees bled oxygen and light. The hives cracked and withered. The core disintegrated, along with the last of the Cathari. In the aftermath, Mira stood alone in the ruins. Ash fell like snow. The matriarch's remains had turned to glass. She touched the pendant at her neck. It no longer felt like a trophy. Back aboard the Resolute, Vorn reviewed the aftermath logs. The species is functionally extinct. No distress beacons. No neural pings. We've scoured the last memory from the stars. Rice remained silent, watching Myra's file scroll across the screen. There was no victory in his face. Only gravity. In her quarters, Mira recorded a log for the first time in years. They're gone. Every last one. We didn't just kill their bodies. We erased their story. I thought it would feel like justice. It doesn't. She paused, voice faltering. Maybe they were monsters. But we became something else to destroy them. And I don't know if what's left of us is better. She stopped the recording and looked out the window. Beyond the void, stars shimmered undisturbed. But somewhere in some other sky, new eyes might be watching. And she wondered who the hunters would be next.